listening to Unpause Your Life with Dr. Cali Estes and Master Coach Jenny Fontana, founders of the Life Coach Method. Each one of our uplifting and deep dive episodes is geared to help you tackle the things that hold you back from having the most magnificent life you deserve. Sit back, relax, and prepare to be coached.
Good morning, everybody. Dr. Cali Estes, Unpause Your Life. I am very excited. I've got Savvy Esposito with me, otherwise known as Savvy, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about her today. She is a nationally certified life, relationship, and recovery coach from the Addictions Academy and elsewhere, I'm sure, that helps couples in the fallout of sexual addiction and betrayal trauma. Leave addiction and trauma behind to build a new life together that's filled with connection, love, and passion. Savvy, with her degree in forensic psychology and personal experience within her own marriage with betrayal trauma and sexual addiction, has transformed the lives of her clients through her approach to recovery through her Knights and Warriors program. Welcome, Savvy.
Welcome. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Okay, so my first question, I've been wanting to ask you this for years. Why did you name your company the Modern Mr. and Mrs.? That's such a cool name.
So originally it was called Millennial Mrs. and Mom. It originally started off as a blog when I became married and was also a mother at the same time. And I was currently in the process of my degree in forensic psychology. And I realized that there was more than just becoming a therapist in terms of helping people. I discovered coaching and I was like, you know what? Let me see what coaching is about. And I realized my blog could have been something way more than just talking about my journey into motherhood and becoming a wife. And I was like, you know what? We're going to pivot and we're going to become the modern Mr. and Mrs. because the reality is today couples are plagued with very different issues than those of past generations. Porn addiction is not something that like my grandparents would have experienced, especially in today's technological world. Social media addiction, all of these modern issues is pretty much what I talk about in the modern Mr. and Mrs. My focus is specifically on sexual addiction and betrayal trauma, but that doesn't mean that we don't also talk about social media addiction, video game addiction, a lot of other process addictions, and how that impacts not only yourself, but your marriage and thus your kids.
Okay. So give us an example. What would you say disrupts the marriage the most? Porn addiction, sex addiction, social media. Give us an example of something you deal with that maybe to the rest of us sounds normal, but behind closed doors is not.
So I guess, I mean, that's a big question. I would say it all is bigger than what we think because a lot of people have normalized technology, right? We have pretty much given our kids iPads at the age of 2. It's been normalized for dads to come home and video game for hours on end. It's just such a very disconnected world. And we've pretty much become accustomed to that. But when we are stuck in technology, we are not connecting with others. And that feeds addiction. And when we talk about the porn addiction, we are experiencing the first generation that has lived through porn from magazines to smartphones. And we are now seeing the ramification of that in all of these marriages. I've worked with couples anywhere from 21 all the way until 80.
Wow.
Like even 80-year-olds are addicted to this high-speed internet porn.
Huh.
Yeah. This is common among all of my clients. The second they had a smartphone in their hand is when their addiction changed. That was the key moment. Instead of having magazines or just like something that came in the mail, like a Victoria's Secret thing, the smartphone opened the door to so many things that they didn't know existed. And because of the way our brain is wired with dopamine, I mean, porn, it hijacks our sexual arousal template. And it's so hard to go back once you go in.
That's interesting because if you think about it, like back when I was growing up, this goes way back. There was no, instant gratification on the phone. If you
Hmm.
wanted to see live porn, you had to go to the little VHS store,
Yep.
walk in the front door, go past the worker, go to the back room, and
With
then
the
there was
thing
these little,
covered. Yeah.
yes, and then you went in
Hmm.
there, and then there was like these little rooms, and these girls would come out, and you'd put your money in, and they were behind a plastic thing, and they would perform, but you had to
Yep.
like go in there. So
It
a lot
was
of
it was
people,
so many steps.
yeah. And people didn't do it because it's like, I'm going to be seen going in there. Or, the massage
Yeah.
parlors, you had that. Now it's like, you don't have to leave your house. You don't have to leave your bedroom and you're anonymous. You just pull it up and there you are. So it
Yeah.
changes the game.
And I think what makes this addiction very unique is that you're carrying it in your pocket all the time. You never are without it. Unless
Yeah.
you choose to go like the dumb phone route, which a lot of my clients will do. But, at least with alcohol, like you can make sure you're not going to go to a bar. But you have your phone in your pocket all the time, whether it is mandated by work or it's a personal choice to have a smartphone. There is like an extra layer of vigilance and intention in terms of quitting pornography addiction and actually being successful.
Let's talk about triggers too, because maybe, you don't look at Pornhub, you're not on
Mhm.
OnlyFans, but you go to social media, you go to Facebook.
Oh yeah. No, that's called pornography substitutes. So anything that is sexually arousing that is not like quote unquote full on two naked people having sex, pornography is substitute. So all my clients from day one, I'm like, you got to get rid of your social media. If you really want to be successful, social media's got to go. So Facebook, especially Instagram. Instagram is a big one, and YouTube. Those are the big ones that clients will relapse with, tends to be just because they're very visual platforms. Um, but what I tell them is recovery is a choice. Every day you're making a series of choices, and if you're going to keep social media like LinkedIn for business, that's very different. But if you keep Instagram, like you are playing with fire because of the way these platforms are set up with the algorithm. That algorithm will give you away to your partner, to anyone who picks up your device. God forbid you use your kid's device to do your addiction. Your kids are now at risk of being exposed.
Yeah. It's funny how that algorithm works. There's a little video I like. There's this couple that does these videos, and she's hilarious. And she does this thing where they're sitting in the car, and he says to her, "Tell me one word that'll make me mad." And she goes,
Hmm.
"What?" And he goes, "Just tell me one word that'll make me mad." And she goes, "What?" And they go through the whole thing, and she's like, "They're not listening. Tell me one word." And he gets mad, and she goes, "I said what, beard boy?" And it's funny. So I started Googling, I wanted to find it. I Googled beard
Mm-hmm.
boy, and I got all these half naked guys
Oh,
with
yeah.
beards. And I'm like, okay, that's not what I'm looking for. So I'm like, beard boy video. And then I got half naked bearded men. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So it pushed the
Yeah. The
half naked.
hypersexual content.
Yeah. And I'm like
Yeah.
trying to find the girl with the video. And then I typed in girl who does video says beard boy. And I'm like, I had to type in like this many words. Then I got the video. And I'm like, wow. Like,
Yeah. Even innocent searches can bring something up. Like, for instance, someone looked up, a water heater. Lo and behold, some naked girl showering with a water heater in the background. Like, there's just so many things that you don't think about as the average person who isn't in this like recovery journey. Like a lot of clients have to switch friend groups, or they have to be very mindful about like what are they searching, could it possibly bring up something sexual. No way would you think, oh, I'm going to improve my house, I'm going to get a new water heater, and that's going to pop up.
yeah.
But it did. And how do you handle that? You got to tell someone, right? You got to be accountable, be honest with your partner, have your recovery plan in place, because that could be really triggering. And that could set you down the whole rabbit hole of going down deeper into addiction and a full on, like, hour on multiple hours of relapsing.
And that's hard to tell your partner. Hey, I was looking for a water heater and this naked girl popped. Like,
Yeah.
Your partner's gonna go, come on, really? Like that's
And that was the reaction. And then she did it and she's like, what the hell? Because it
yeah.
came up for her too. Like, it is a very challenging world for someone recovering with pornography addiction. Not to mention the fact that we are entering this age of AI, which is
Oh, yeah.
no one in our recovery field has even been able to help anyone with this because it's a brand new issue. AI has completely changed the game in terms of recovery from this addiction, and I'm sure it'll change the landscape of other recoveries as well.
I got the little algorithm. It said, do you want an AI boyfriend? And I'm like, ew,
Yeah.
no, why would I want an AI boyfriend? And then of course, I clicked it because I'm like, what the hell? And I
Yeah.
clicked it and it pulled up and I'm like, whoa, this is going to be
Hmm.
interesting. And
Yeah.
now it keeps coming through. And now it's like, are you lonely? AI boyfriend will make you happy. Are you sad? AI boyfriend. And I'm like, I don't, this is going to be like, people are going to be down the rabbit hole. They're not going to have social skills at all after
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, because the problem is you can customize your AI girlfriend or boyfriend to exactly what you want. Oh, you don't want them to be argumentative. Oh, you want them to look this way. Like, it's not real. It's false. It's a fantasy, which feeds the addiction. You're running away. What are you running away from? Like, until someone can take inventory and say, what am I running from? What am I avoiding? What am I trying to numb out? What skills don't I have? Or do I even just feel pretty much dead in my life? You got to look at that and then you can start making progress. Because until you know what is making you go towards addiction, you're never going to stop.
So let me switch gears and talk about real life for a second
Okay.
and see what you think of this because I'm curious. So I'm a gym rat. Been going to the gym 30 plus years. I go in, I wear my shorts, I wear my tank top, I do my thing. Over the past 3 years, I have noticed the outfits in the gym for the women have changed.
Hmm.
It's no longer, pants and a tank top. It's shorts that are like, and I wear short shorts.
Yeah.
They're
Hmm.
beating me. Like you could see everything. And they're
Hmm.
wearing these little tiny white tops that like you would wear at the beach. I don't
Yeah.
know what they're lifting because you can't do
Yeah.
this because everything's gonna fall out. And they're like 18,
Mm.
19, maybe. And they're all doing it. And then you've got these older, creepy 45-year
Yep.
old, I don't want to call him out, but I'm gonna, the beer belly guy who thinks he's real hot and he's over there and he's flirting with them. And I'm like, I want to walk up and go to the girl, do you need help? Like, do you need an
Yeah.
exit
Yeah.
strategy? So tell me about that in terms of sex addiction, because it's coming from both sides.
So, women, I mean, we live in a society in America where women are hypersexualized and pretty much devalued. And so we also see this culture of incels right now, where they're very angry at women and women are sex objects. So when you go to a gym and you see all these young women sexualizing themselves, it's basically what we have been taught in society. We are only as worth as much as our body is. How much attention can we get? Are we pretty enough? Can we even get a guy's attention? Like that's on the female side because when I work with clients, especially in the sexual recovery part, it's not just that the addict has to rewire what they think of as sex because of all the pornography they've consumed. The betrayed also has to kind of look at what messages they've brought in to the relationship because they also might be feeding these unhealthy, unrealistic sexual standards or ideas. So the gym is one of those places that honestly is very triggering. It's not conductive to recovery, especially early on, but exercise is obviously super important. And when you see these guys that are obviously not supposed to necessarily be going towards these very young women, I mean, a lot of my clients and others that I hear about, I mean, these are 40, 50, 60-year-old guys looking at quote unquote teen category, 19, 18, 20. And the more you orgasm to what you're looking at, that is what you're wiring your brain to be associating pleasure with. When you watch porn, you don't actually understand that you're not having sex with that person. you actually think you are having sex. When you orgasm, you think you are spreading your seed. Like, so when you're that guy thinking, oh, I am having sex with all of these 18, 19, 20-year-olds, and you go out into the real world, your addiction is no longer stuck to a screen. You're taking that and actually starting to act it out in real life. And that's scary. So that goes beyond just masturbation and pornography addiction. You're now kind of escalating into that sexual addiction territory. Because I look at it as a spectrum, because no two addictions have been the same in what I've seen. Some people, literally, it's just masturbation. Other people, strictly sex. So very different ways that this addiction can present, but it does escalate. So when you see that behavior, that's like, that is, you're seeing escalation in real life.
And then I see it from both sides. I see the little girls, I call them little girls. You know, the 18, 19-year-olds are like loving the fact that a guy their dad's age or granddad's age is flirting with them. And then if you watch the gym culture, you've got the women my age group that are now
Mm-hmm.
offended that they're overlooked. So they start wearing the tank
Mm-hmm.
tops and the pants. They have their stomachs sticking out, and they're doing, they're trying to get the attention of these guys. And I'm sitting back watching it like it's like a cesspool. Like everybody's trying to get everybody's attention. They're all sleeping with each other, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
how creepy, how weird.
Yeah, I definitely would say so. And I guess that's this thing where women are always competing against each other in our society, because our society values youth, thinness. It's just very superficial. And while there is like a reality that, like, yeah, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, you're in your most fertile years. Like, if you're a 40, 50, 60-year-old dude, do you really want to be having kids with someone so young? Like, realistically, that's not the majority of how most couples are out there. There are the couples out there that are like, it's clearly like a marriage of like a trade marriage. I'm rich, you provide me kids, like, that's fine. But when you see like this big shift in the culture, it's more than just those like 1 or
Business
2%
transaction.
marriages.
Yeah, that's like a business transaction.
It is, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, interesting. Now, I know you teach for the academy and you created
Yes.
the sex addiction coaching. Tell me about that class because I know when we dumped that out, we went up against two male instructors,
Yeah.
and I know both their lives have shifted since then, which I
Oh
find
yeah.
fascinating. So, tell me about this class that's taught by women, that's
Mhm.
created by women. It's the first one. What's different about that than what's on the market?
So, I mean, part of it is we are women. Both Chloe and myself have experienced addiction ourselves, and we are also betrayed partners. So we know both sides of the coin. Um, the male certifications out there do come from a male white um, perspective, and with the recent changes out there, there's definitely been some pushback on some of those people with what has come out, and they don't trust that program anymore, to go and get help there, because there was a lot of lying. And like, that's kind of the problem. Like, if you are someone who is recovering from sexual addiction and you are now saying you are clean and here's my program and I help people, and then it comes out that there has not been all of the honesty that you have been selling, that's a problem. um Chloe and I were not sexual addicts, we are betrayed partners. Our approach is very much based on honesty and science. Um, we teach not only just the importance of understanding the sexual addict, but you also get to understand a little bit about the betrayal trauma. Because if you're going to be a coach and you're working with a sexual addict, if you don't actually understand what the relational dynamic is, you could do more damage than helping your client. And that's really, really important. We also talk about fetish cycling. You're not going to hear that anywhere else, but go to the course and take it to find out more about it. It's really important for the recovering addict to look at their history of addiction and be able to pinpoint it, because that's going to tell you a lot about their triggers and where they are in terms of recovery. for their brain and healing. We also go into understanding that this addiction can get dark, and it's so important to know when to refer out to a therapist. If you don't have any training in domestic violence or sexual violence, we recommend you do that because that is so important. Unfortunately, that does show up a fair amount in this field. So you learn a lot because I have a degree in forensic psychology. I did go on to pursue my master's in clinical mental health until I realized, nope, I really enjoy the coaching approach. So I do take all of that knowledge and bring it to you. So it's not just someone without like a psychological background bringing this information to you. I do have other degrees and education to say, hey, you're going to learn all of that stuff as well on top of like the coaching. So you know when to refer out, how to do a really proper client intake, because again, with sexual addiction, you definitely want to make sure you understand the legal risks, when to make sure that you're not going to take on a client, that has crossed legal lines, because this addiction that will show up. It is definitely a very specialized niche. And unfortunately, there's things that are just not talked about in some of the other trainings out there, specifically, again, legal risks, AI today in terms of like OnlyFans and all of this new stuff that has come out that really feeds the addiction in a different way than it did back in the 1990s and 80s.
Well, I like how you said yours is science-based.
Yeah.
We're competing with two other companies that offer Christian-based. Big
Oh,
difference.
yeah. Very big difference. And again, like I think I understand there's definitely a market for those who are religious. And the thing is, I can tell you most of my clients are actually religious. A lot of them are Christian, and I do not I'm not, if you go on my website, you're not going to see Christianity listed anywhere, because I don't base my efforts in recovery, my science, my approach on religion. Religion can be part of recovery, but to use that as your foundation is misguided, because if you don't know the science, if you're not actually aware of what works when you take studies into account, like you're not going to help your clients the way that you could if you use that stuff.
So I'm going to take that to I'm going to next level that, since I like to push the tiller. When I'm working with clients, I say religion and 12-step don't play into what I do. You can go do those two things. You
Yep.
can add them to your recovery, but we're not using willpower as a way to
Yeah.
get you sober. And when I say that, they go, what does that mean? And I say, well, if you're looking at porn or you're drinking alcohol and all of a sudden you say, I'm just not going to do it, I'm just going to pray instead. I'm like, okay, that's great.
No.
But dopamine level, your chemical level in your brain.
Yeah, it's not going to work. You have to replace the behavior. Like if you are doing something that's releasing so much dopamine in your brain and you just stop, your body's craving it. So make sure you have exercise and other things that's going to release dopamine. So as you go into that withdrawal, you're not going to be hit as hard. Because I did have one client that said God would save him. It obviously did not work. Like, you have to do the work yourself. It is a choice you make every day. And you have to want it. No one can force you to recover if you don't want it.
Yeah, that's true. That is 100% true. So tell us this, since we're running out of time, where can they find you? Where can people who want to hire you find you? Where can they find your classes? How can you be found?
Okay. So because my niche obviously is sexual addiction and betrayal trauma, I'm not too much on social media. You could find me on Instagram at Savvy Esposito. I don't post there often, but the best way is my website, themodernmrandmrs.com. Read my blog, my videos on there, join my newsletter. That is where you're going to get the most quote unquote bang for your buck, because it's free. Every week I give you lessons, recovery topics, things where you are actually learning and engaging in recovery, even though like you're not paying for it. You can also obviously find me at the Addictions Academy, and please take the course. I really want more coaches to be certified, trained, and ethical coaches out there. Please take the course. We need more of you. We really do. This field is so small, And there is just such a huge need right now for people in this niche.
Well, there you have it, guys. Thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate it. We're going to put all the links up there in the show notes so everybody can find you and they can click right through everything and go right to you. So it'll be pretty
Awesome.
simple. Thank you for listening to Unpause Your Life. As always, I hope you enjoyed my guest, Savvy Esposito, and you can join us again for another episode. Have a great day, guys.
Thank you for listening to Unpause Your Life with Dr. Cali Estes and Master Coach Jenny Fontana. Head over to www.thelifecoachmethod.com to learn more about coaching yourself and how to become a master coach.